The EcoMontado Group is a project supported under the Portuguese Rural Development Programme, PDR 2020, and co-funded by the European Agricultural Fund for Rural Development, EAFRD, within the framework of Priority P4, restoring, preserving, and enhancing ecosystems related to agriculture and forestry. The specific and global problems in the continental territory that the operational group aims to respond to are inefficient management and use of soil water, soil loss and lack of soil in Montadou areas, desertification, environmental. The dynamics highlighted and worsened by the effects of climate change. Ecosystem restoration techniques resulting from the concepts of permaculture and agroecology, such as the Keyline design, emerge as a solution to the widespread problem of soil loss and inefficient use of water seen in Montadou areas, as a measure for the integrated management of existing resources in agroforestry pastoral territories, namely soil and water. The problem identified then creates the opportunity to implement a new method of restoring the soil, and consequently the entire ecosystem, through the development of an innovative technology directly related to sustainable forest management and the production of forest products, cork, of relevant importance in rural areas where montados are dominant. Keyline method is a topographic line, on a contour line, drawn using as a reference point on the ground where the water, as it descends, abruptly slows down, resulting in a water accumulation area. Using this line as a reference, lines are drawn slightly, about 1% in relation to the key line, to redistribute the water to the surface and storage of water in specific locations. In this way, the water is distributed in the soil and progressively transported from the valley to the ridge areas. Keyline design is a land planning method developed in the 1950s by Australian mining engineer Percival Alfred Yeomans. Originally intended to rehabilitate degraded, dry, and fire-prone agricultural lands, it focuses on maximizing rainwater retention and distribution within the soil. The system uses topography-based design to direct water from valleys toward ridgelines, reducing surface runoff and evaporation while improving infiltration and soil fertility. This enhances biological activity, increases organic matter, and promotes healthier, more resilient soils. A central concept is the key line, a contour line drawn from a point where water flow naturally slows and accumulates. Slightly off-level lines, about 1% slope, are then traced from it to redistribute water more evenly across the landscape. This is done with a Yeomans plow, which creates deep grooves without turning the soil, protecting its structure and microbial life. In Europe, where the Yeomans plow is rare, adapted subsoilers are often used with similar results. Keyline design not only improves soil structure but actively builds new soil and expands root zones, especially in areas with low vegetation cover. It supports the growth of crops, improved pastures, aromatic plants, and trees in agroforestry systems.
I made key lines here in this property because I would like to carry water from the from the valleys to the high side. So, and I would like to utilize better the water that is uh, uh, a poor. Uh, thing that I have here. I don't have much water here in the property, so it's a dryland property. Uh, so I try to put the key lines to to get a better use of water. I did that and I got good results with that. Uh, I made the contours, and afterwards we plow to 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 improve the infiltration of the water and the circulation of the water in the paddock. It's really difficult to do key lines in agroforestry because many times the key lines will go against the trees. So it's really difficult to design the contours between the trees and afterwards to plow to make the infiltration in the middle of the trees. That is the main thing. But anyway, if you don't have the trees and if you have an undulated contour, an undulated plant landscape, it's quite useful in dryland conditions. Yes.
The keyline technique, it's mainly focused on managing the water in the space and making that the water it's uniformly sprayed on the space and not going to all one part and create erosion and problems of compactation, and then you have a very dry area and a very wet area. The keyline technique allows you to put the raining water to manage the water in the soil. So when we wanted to introduce trees on a space that is compacted, I will say in general desertificated, this soil has very special conditions, especially for instance in terms of drainage. It's not good in drainage. So when we apply the key line, you retain the water in the rainy seasons for a long time in the soil. If you seed more than plant trees, these seeds and these small plants, if you plant it, to have the good um, season to plant it, that is in winter, there will be normally when you apply the key line all the winter and the spring with a lot of water well distributed in the soil. And that's not a good thing for the first year of the small trees and the small planted trees, because we have more and more a big shock between the wet season in the end of spring and the summer. And the reality is normally in 1 or 2 weeks everything dry. So the plants were used through a lot of water. In one moment they don't have water and they collapse. So I will say that this is a technical problem related with the climate that we have. That's a very special climate. We are talking about Mediterranean climate. So keyline technique, even for planting trees, showed up to be a very good technique in other climates. So we are talking about Mediterranean. We are talking about this specific role, goal that was introducing trees to create a new system in the world. So I think if we go to other climate, or if you use, for instance, plants, bigger plants and not seeds, the technique will be much more friendly, let's say. Or what I think it's a lesson between these is normally the people that are looking for new solutions, they are very enthusiastic with all kinds of techniques, and they try to somehow to sell it like a very good thing in any conditions, and it's not true. So we have to deal a little bit with our enthusiasm and try to think that because it's new, it's not something good always. It's good sometimes when you apply it well. Sometimes it's not the best. So for me, I have to tell you that the straight lines are much more efficient for managing the crop in the first years. Curve lines, and you cannot do key line without curve lines, are very problematic for different reasons, because you don't see the line, you don't see the trees, and then when you make operations like cropping hay or making organic matter to put on the trees or something, if you don't see the trees, it's a big problem. So we abandoned for this go the Keyline, and we started with straight lines, and you will ask me, but the effect of Keyline, what happened? No. The effect of Keyline, when you have a forest, will be guaranteed because the trees will make the shape for managing the water. And that I'm searching for all type of techniques, approaches related with agroecology. And Keyline, it's one of them. It comes maybe from permaculture, but I knew Keyline because of an independent project established here in Freixo. They asked me to plant probably one of the first food forests, not agroforests. It was the oldest one concept, and they asked me if they can try it in this farm, a food forest, and they applied the Keyline. It was not so bad in that reality for different reasons. Mainly they were working with more domestic and bigger trees. I was mainly seeding more than planting an agroforest. And that's important, is different between planting and seeding. So they allowed me to meet the technology. And then it was also important that there were the facilitators. Jesus is Spanish and he's a very good designer of Keyline. And he was already in the farm, and I asked him, why not we make a vineyard? And we've done a vineyard, and it was a very successful thing, because maybe that was also with planting and not seeding. And then we get enthusiastic because we had some money from a life project, a European life project called Montado Adapt to Climate Change. And we used that money to make an experience of more than 50 hectares of seeding agroforestry with Keyline technique. And that was the thing that was not so good, but it was good in terms of an experience and learning. So I think the Keyline approach, it's very important for some realities, but here for some reasons it was not a success in all the things that we tested.